Hi, this is Regeline Sabat, also known as Gigi, and you're listening to Walk With Me podcast. My guest today is Brandee Thunberg. Brandee is a double certified holistic health coach and CEO of Sunshine Transformations. Welcome to the show, Brandee.
Hi, Gigi. Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor to be here with you.
Likewise, it's an honor to have you here today. Now, why don't you start off by telling us more about you and where you are from?
All right, where I am from. So, I am a Jersey girl. I was born and raised in Jersey, and I am now in Central Florida. I grew up sick all the time, Gigi. It was not cool. A lot of doctors trying to do band-aids. Well, who needs a band-aid, right? Nothing was getting fixed. And by the time I was 17, I had an ulcer. By the time I was 21, oh my goodness, I had severe depression. And I reached out for some help, which, by the way, was over 20 years ago. And I had to get on some big girl panties to go do that. You had to be pretty brave to reach out because it has such a stigma to it that I feel like people from my age group up, they still have that stigma. So we have a lot of the younger group. I feel like they're more open to having that discussion about like the anxiety and the depression. But we still a little bit older a little bit. I'm not that old, Gigi, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not that old yet, am I?
You don't look it. No, ma'am. So you talk about the anxiety and depression component, which are very important, and especially during COVID, so many people are
Yes.
experiencing depression. Let's talk about a little bit about it.
Yeah. So here's what's interesting. I reached out for help and I got laughed at by the doctor because I was able to walk in the office and say hi to everyone and smile. He didn't want to hear anything about some cloud I felt hanging over my head that my brain felt stuck and I just seemed sad. He's like, "You are fine." He literally, Gigi, I'm not kidding you, like belly laughed at me. It was absolutely humiliating to be that brave, to ask for help, and to be laughed at. So, what happened is I had to figure this all out on my own. I realized I had to be my biggest advocate. So, what I'm learning, and just like you've learned, like the toughest part of your journey becomes the sweetest part of your story because that's where you're able to make the biggest impact helping others. And now that I'm watching what's happening with COVID, I I'm able to make such a big impact because I have been able to navigate this whole anxiety and depression a certain way that it resulted in the blueprint that can help other people. So it just really became a very holistic thing. But there's so many messages in there that I want people to see and realize and understand for what they may be experiencing now. So I'm so thankful for my journey. Although I was not at the time when I walked out of that doctor's office.
Amen.
Was not. But that was one of the biggest blessings. So, what you have happening now is you have a lot of people that are falling into this depression and they're having so much anxiety over what's happening in this world. There's so many things we don't have control over, right? Like a lot of our anxiety is going to come from typically either worrying about the past or worrying about the future. But helping get present and working with the things that you can does make that big difference. So, um, and I'm sure you're noticing quite a bit too on your end, this whole growth. I mean, mental health, um, one, it's a lot of all you hear about, but if you look at the statistics, it has absolutely skyrocketed this past year and a half. But people need to understand that that's okay, that there's not anything wrong with them. They're human. And that there are things that they can do to help navigate that and make it a little bit easier.
Amen. Very powerful. And you talk about after going through such a traumatic event and what happens after the fact. And you're right. I thought that my life was over after everything that happened, especially learning things like I had lost oxygen to the brain and that I needed to get x-rays and I needed to get my neck checked after being strangled almost to death. And so when you talk about these things that you've been through, it's so important that we acknowledge those components of your recovery. And so you touch base on your healing journey. And I think it's so powerful and so inspiring. And you talk about how it led you to write your book, right? The Keys to a High Performance Lifestyle. Talk to us a little bit more about your book. And can you hold it up for us, please?
I can. So it looks like this. It is very journal based. So it's very hands-on. But this book was about 20 years of my process of what it took to get to where I'm at now. And what happened is, as I was healing and as I was learning and trying different things, people started asking me. They started saying, well, what are you doing? And do you think it'll work for me? Can I try this? And all of a sudden I'm sharing. And then someone said to me, why don't you write a book? And I was like, oh, what? You want me to what? And I thought, wait a second. Yeah, I could do that. I can be an author. I've got something to share, right? It was not my strongest subject in school. So I was like, no. But what was interesting is to put this all together. And I mean, this is my journey right here. And it's so neat to see and to share with others, and to help them have that transformation as well. And in my journey, I was able to notice that if I could focus on 4 things, I could have huge transformation. That it didn't take this whole big thing. Now, granted, I spent a lot of money and a lot of time going through all of this over the years, and I did it all backwards. Absolutely backwards. And realized, I could reorder things for in here and really put it together and make that impact. And if you can focus on your mindset, your self-care, your nourishment, and your movement, big things start to happen. So I won't get all sciencey, but I love science, Gigi. So, and the brain and the way it works. And that's a lot of what I had to learn with some of these things. Like, all right, what's happening with my brain? Like, obviously something is taking place here. Why am I stuck? Why can't I get off these thoughts? And, being able to learn those things and then try things out. And in my journey, to notice, like, you're your own person, Gigi. What works for me may not work for you. But if you figure out with mindset, self-care, nourishment, and movement what does work, huge things start to happen. So that's what I get to do for people now, is take them through that journey and create that transformation. And it's pretty incredible to wake up every day and know that big things are going to happen.
Amen. And share those 4 things with us one more time for the audience.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's mindset, self-care, nourishment, and movement.
I love it.
And I selected those words very carefully. I don't say nutrition, and I don't say exercise.
Why?
What happens when I say exercise, Gigi? Do you get excited?
I see. Oh my, I don't think I've ever laughed this hard on this show. You are hilarious.
Point proven. So here's the thing. When I say exercise, everyone's like, oh, nope. Don't want to do that. Don't want to sweat. And I love it. I have this one client. She was the cutest little thing. And she's like, yeah, so when we get to that movement thing, this is just not going to work. I think the rest of the program's going to be great, but movement, nope. Nope. And I said, well, why? She's like, well, I don't like exercise, but I like to dance. And I just busted out laughing. I'm like, that's movement. She's like, no way. I'm like, well, you're moving your body, right? And it was so eye-opening for her to realize that something she loved counted as movement. Because when you say exercise, it's like this negative, like, oh, nope, not having it, don't want to, and it like shuts your brain down. But that's not what movement's meant to be. We were created to move. All of us, we were created to move. That's just how it is. Our bodies don't want to be sitting all day. So if you can find out that component that works for you, awesome. And then you figure out how to dribble that into your day.
Amen.
All of a sudden, things start happening with your brain and your body, and it's pretty cool. And it doesn't have to be exercise.
I love it. Very powerful. Now, Ashraf says, he's joined us. Thank you for listening in. He says, thanks for such an inspiring episode. And also, it's great that you shared your experience.
Oh, thank you. That is so sweet.
Very sweet. Yes, ma'am. So now, Brandee, tell us a little bit more. What is your best advice to the audience for walking with purpose and living a life of happiness?
So, that's a really powerful question.
Thank you.
When you walk in purpose, I think it has a lot to do with listening. I know, like, my purpose was very organic. I didn't go to college for this. Here I was finishing up college and completely depressed and had all this stuff going on. And the path that I thought I was going to take isn't the path that I was led on. And I think that's so important to really pay attention to the things that are happening and the things that light you up and the messages that you're getting along the way. I think it's super important to listen and see is what I would say, because it's easy to overlook some of that. You and I could have handled our situations so different, and they could have changed our lives dramatically. And instead of using them to empower ourselves and help others, they could have knocked us down and kept us down. So it's so important to me, it's so important for people to see those situations and to get that opportunity to have that empowerment and the support that they need that helps get them to where their purpose is, to what they're meant to do here. That to me is huge. And, for me, it took a lot of diving deep. It took a lot of praying and journaling and conversations with God, just asking questions, listening for answers, and paying attention to what was happening around me. For years, I was health coaching and I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. I didn't even know it was a thing. And, literally, I was at this point where I was like, what am I really here for? And it woke me up out of my sleep was this message, you need to be a health coach. And Gigi, this is going to sound so silly, but I didn't even know what a health coach was at the time. I didn't know that that's what I was doing. I had no clue. And at 3:00 in the morning, I came into my studio and I was like, I got to look up this health coach. What is this thing? And I read it and I'm like, I'm doing that, and the message was like, yeah, I know. Like, yeah, that's what you need to be doing. But it just took those conversations and it took listening to be able to get to that place.
Amen. Listening matters. Now, in one sentence, what would you tell those individuals who may be going through anxiety or depression now, especially after COVID has occurred and they're thinking, well, COVID's happening, this is it. In one sentence, what would you tell those folks?
Gigi, you know I like to talk, right? You're giving me one sentence? One? Woo! I'll try. I think it's understanding that they're loved and they matter, and that it's okay to feel those feelings. You're not broken. There's commas in here, Gigi, by the way. No periods yet, just commas. It's still one sentence. But seriously, that you are truly loved. You have a huge purpose. You matter. And you're not broke. You're not alone. There are so many people out there right now that feel the same way you feel. Reach out for that support. Reach out for someone to talk to, someone that can listen, someone that can help guide you. It makes all the difference. I don't know where I'd be without my support system. And at one point, Gigi, one of my biggest support systems was my 3-year-old son, who knew something was wrong, but wasn't sure what. And you get that love and you get that support, and it builds you up. And it's going to allow you to make the changes. When you are going through anxiety and depression, everything takes so much energy. You don't want to get out of bed. Getting off the couch feels like a marathon. So it's so important to have that extra support and encouragement that can help you. Someone that can hold you, a little bit accountable, and someone that can guide you to what you need. I can't stress that enough. So definitely reach out.
Amen. Very powerful. Thank you, Brandee. Now, where can the audience find you?
So let's see. I can be found at sunshinetransformations.com. That's where you can learn more about what I do. You can also follow me on sunshinetransformations.com or at the Facebook. And then I have the same Instagram. So Facebook, Instagram. Now, Sunshine Transformations, Gigi, what I have there is an anxiety reducing, energy boosting guide. So your guests are more than welcome to go to sunshinetransformations.com, and that guide is free. I share that as a jumpstart for everybody that's looking for something to, just to get that beginning, that comfort stage. Like, let me check this out, and wow, okay, I can reduce my anxiety, and I can do this. I got this. So that's what that guide's all about.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to go and grab your copy of the guide, and also to check out Brandee on all of her social media platforms, and also sunshinetransformations.com. And Brandee, thank you again for being a guest on Walk With Me podcast. You have a blessed day.
You too, Gigi. Thank you.
You're welcome.